today's a fun day for us because, well, one, we get to be here. And
it's St. Patty's Day?
Yes, it's going to be a fun day at the ballpark today. And we're here now, and we're watching the Phillies, warm up and get ready for their game today. And the trip and being down here and just thinking about this team got me thinking, because we've spent so much time recently talking about the Eagles, and like now we're kind of locking in. We're 10 days from opening day here with the Phillies. And Hugh, it hit me today as we got here and just watching the team, and we're going to talk to JT coming up, that I believe that, I don't know when this happened over the course of the offseason, that we went from wherever we were with the Phillies last summer. I mean, there were a lot of people that thought that Phillies team last year was going to win the whole thing, and they fell off at the end, and then the disappointment there. And I understand how the emotions are still – they're there for a lot of people. But, Hugh, I think it's now to the point where we're underrating the Phillies. Like, heading into the season – most conversations about, even this morning on the morning show, they were talking about their offseason. And I saw their poll, and 24% or whatever said they had a bad offseason. Like, there is a sense that I feel that we're now underrating the Phillies, that it's flipped all the way around from they're going to win the World Series and now no one believes in them. I'm looking at power rankings here, and I think sometimes we're too locked in, like, locally. USA Today second, CBS Sports second, Baseball America third, The Athletic third, Fangraphs fourth. They won 95 games last year. I know the playoffs have been disappointing, and last year was really disappointing. But, Hugh, where are you at? The way I feel this morning is I think we've now started to actually underrate them. I don't know what the season's going to be in terms of how far they're going to go, but there's a sense like, they're not that good anymore. They're still a good baseball team. I think we're underrating them, Hugh.
I wouldn't call it underrating them. I would say disappointed is too strong. Man, what's the word? What's the word that I'm looking for to describe how I feel? Like,
almost like they got to prove it to you again.
Underwhelmed.
See, you're underrating them. You're and the Phillies.
No, see, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is how I look at it. I think this is a good baseball team. Are they going to the playoffs? There's no doubt in my mind that they're a playoff contender, especially when you talk about the way that the division is going to shake out. The Mets look like they're better. The Braves are going to be healthy. Those two teams are going to be a problem. But we've seen this before, and I'm not mad at them for not being as optimistic as they have been in the past. I still think that it's still World Series, a bust for them. But it's more tempered because of, I think, the understanding that the fan base knows you didn't do a whole lot. There was a whole lot of conversation in the offseason about what was going to happen. And one of the biggest names that was floated out there was Alec Bohm. Oh, he's not going to be here. Oh, they're going to break up the daycare. All that other good stuff. It didn't happen. So I think that they know it's twofold with this. They know that the fan base is probably not happy is because they didn't do a whole lot in the offseason, and the teams around you have gotten better or healthier, if you will. Mm-hmm. You feel like you have the core group of guys locked in. You just have to figure out the secret sauce to unlock that formula in the postseason. So, long talking a little bit, I think that to say that there's high expectations for this team, but if they fall short, I guess nobody's what they call it, they're not what's the word I'm looking for? Emotionally invested.
So it feels like the way you're framing it is people have a right to have some skepticism.
Yeah, I'm long talking a little bit, but and I understand what you're asking me, but it's not as easy as underestimating the team.
I maybe not. Maybe you aren't, but I do feel a lot of our listeners, a lot of fans are. I think it's almost like we're missing a part of this. Like they were last summer, people thought they were going to win the World Series, and now the way people talk about them, that they're not good anymore. No, they're still really good. I'd be shocked if they're not one of the 5 or 6 best teams in baseball, all for the breadth of the whole season. That's a good team.
You know what it is, though, Joe? I feel like and I don't want to speak out of turn for any Phillies fans, so please call in and tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's like this. We go as the team energy goes. And I think right now when we look at this team, we're feeding off of what they're saying.
That's fair, yep.
And they're kind of like – nobody has said that like when you ask flat out, what's the goal? Goal is always World Series. Mm-hmm. I mean that's a given.
But they're not being as loud about it
as they were in the last couple of years.
Yep.
Because they realize there's a lot going on here. There's a lot at play here. A little bit older. The vision has gotten better. You didn't do a whole lot in the offseason.
And they have gone in the playoffs backwards 3 years
in a row.
Yes,
you didn't do a whole lot. So you're banking on this group of guys that's a year older, has seen a lot of failure in the last couple seasons when they thought they were getting over the hump.
Yep.
They're going through something right now. They still want to win, but they're like, damn. We set out. It's almost like this, and this is how it felt those 3 years that I went to the NFC Championship game. You do everything right to put yourself in position to get everything that you want. They checked all the boxes that they wanted to check last year. Won the division, won more games than anybody, and they still didn't get over the hump. You know what the hardest thing was? The last one that we lost to, lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I remember thinking to myself, like, damn. And this really went into the decision to go somewhere else because I remember thinking, how can I physically and mentally prepare for failure when I've been this close 2 times in a row? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've been this close, and we've done everything perfect, and damn it, the results are still the same. Like, okay, mentally, how can I get past that? Now, you know, once I think back on it, I mean, you ain't got no choice. You have to, and I think that's where this team is right now. You have no choice. Alec Bowman's still here. He has no choice. He has to be better. You know, we talk about Trey Turner. Trey Turner's in a. It hasn't been discussed a whole lot, but you know, it's been a whole lot of fringe conversations about what are you going to be? Are you going to be the shortstop of the future? How long do you have left? So I think that this team is in transition. I think they want to win. You know what I think this season? Long talking again, but I think this season is going to be a season where there's going to be a lot of changes made quicker than they've been in the past.
Well, I think they have to. I mean, you mentioned they're not a young team, and the window is it's closing, right? I don't know how quickly it is closing, but it's closing. I mean, Schwarber's a free agent after the season. JT, as of right now, is a free agent after the season. I mean, this group is not going to be together forever. 215-592-9494. Are we underrating the Phillies? So that comp you brought up to your teams is interesting because I can understand why some people may have lost faith that your group was going to win the Super Bowl, right? Like, because you got close and you
got close a couple times,
right? And then I could see why someone in maybe 03 or 04 is like, it's just never going to happen with this group. But you still are one of the best teams in the NFL, and that's the Phillies. Like,
yeah,
we'll see if they can close the deal in October. But there's a sense of like blah, like we'll see with this team. No, they're good. I mean, they won 95 games last year. They've won more games every season for 6 straight years. Now, I don't know if they could do that again and get to 97 or 98. I don't know if this stops this year. But they go on the upward trajectory every year, and it feels like this year just the fan base has a different sense. Where do you come down? 215-592-9494. We're in Clearwater today. Are we, as a fan base, underrating this Phillies team? We're 10 days until opening day.
You know what it feels like, Joe? It's almost like, say, you're playing, like for all my people that play video games, it's like you play in video games and you're really good at it, and you get to the boss level, and you keep fighting the boss, right? Mm-hmm. And every fight you try to learn and adapt something different so that the next time you fight the boss, you'll be better quick. But as you go through it, you're getting your butt kicked a lot quicker every time. That's kind of how it feels like for them probably. And now this is probably the 3rd or 4th time fighting the boss. So now they're just like, hey, you know what? We've tried it this way. We've tried it that way. That ain't working. Well, hell, we just going to throw our hands up and get through this regular fight and then wait and see if we can adjust on the fly when we get to the boss.
We got to beat the boss.
You got to beat the boss,
gotta
man.
Beat the
this
boss.
is the boss level.
215-592-9494 for live Clearwater Phillies spring training here. Are we underrating this Phillies team? 10 days till opening day, and there's a sense of like, we'll see what they are this year. No, they're one of the best teams in baseball, and I feel like we haven't said that in months and months here. Kyle, where do you come down on this as the Phillies get ready for a new season? And it doesn't feel like people have the same electricity for this season and this particular team this year.
Yeah, and look, I get it. I understand where the sentiment's coming from. I feel like people are just – it's like the perfect storm of fatigue. You go backwards. You get beaten up in the playoffs all the time. You have an underwhelming offseason. And like, I just try to look at this from a perspective of if you zoom out and you're a fan of another team, you're not a Phillies fan. You're just a baseball watcher, and you're thinking, what are the 5 best teams or 5 teams that can win the World Series in baseball? The Phillies are without a doubt one of them. Now, I know they didn't do the Juan Soto thing, and they didn't make a big splash signing this offseason. I actually really think the Luzardo move is going to end up being really underrated.
Could be, yep.
And they're going to have guys that come up. You know, you'll have Andrew Painter. Who knows if Taijuan Walker is going to bounce back? I don't know if I can count on that. I think Chris Sanchez takes another step forward. And the lineup is still one of the best lineups in baseball. Now, I get the Chase thing, and that's sort of what pisses people off. And that's part of what the fatigue is. It's like, because the only way they're going to be able to do this is if they adjust themselves. And while I get we're not hearing it from them, the urgency, they're not talking about World Series as much, I think we'll see the urgency by their actions this season. I think to the point Hugh made, they're going to make adjustments quicker, whether that's from Topper or, upper management in making changes. And I think the players too. Like, the players have to sense this. There's no way they're oblivious to the fact that this could be one of the last runs with this core together. I know for a fact that they feel that. And I think we're going to see that throughout the season. So I really do think we're underrating the Phillies. Just as an objective observer, they are one of the best teams in baseball. They can absolutely win the World Series.
I think we're totally underrating them. 215-592-9494. To your point on the offense, they did finish fifth in baseball in runs scored last year. Sometimes because we remember the bad moments and the way it ends.
You remember the postseason.
Yeah, you remember the postseason.
They went out and whimpered.
Yeah, but they had the fifth most runs in baseball last year. This offense is a good one. And I saw this yesterday. So Tariq Skubal, who's probably the best pitcher in baseball last year, he actually traveled and faced the Phillies here a couple days ago. And the reason he did that is he said you come on the road in spring and kind of see where you're at by facing really good hitters. And he said he'd put this line up against anyone in the big leagues. That's the best pitcher in baseball, saying that. And like, he's got nothing to gain by saying it unless he believes it.